Hi guys. Today, all you know is that I'm from Vietnam, right? And among all Vietnamese dishes that came to the attention of people in the Western, nothing else has received such tremendous acceptance as pho. Is anybody here have pho? It's good, right? So pho is considered as the national dish of Vietnam, and it has captured the fascinations of so many people in the West because of its decisive simplicity and its complex flavor. Pho is the perfect comfort food, warm, hearty, and deliciously refreshing. In Vietnam, is the common people food. It's street food. Everywhere you go, you always see a pho restaurant. Uh, Today, I want to give you guys an in-depth information about the history and what is pho. So the main question here is what is pho? For many Americans, this is basically a Vietnamese noodle soup made with beef broth that is flavored with various spices and herbs. This definition is not wrong, but for Vietnamese like me, it's more than that. So let me show you the definition of pho from Vietnamese perspective. First, we begin with the broth. The most important component of this rich and intense essence of beef broth is only can achieved by simmering marrow-rich beef bones on low heat. On low heat with spices such as sugar. I'm sorry, ginger, star anise, and for at least 3 hours to give these ingredients a chance to melt and harmonize together to create a complex layer of flavors that you taste in pho. A complete bowl of pho contains the special beef broth with a chewy rice noodle called bun pho or pho noodle, added with some tender beef fly and crunchy bean sprout in the soup. So this is a complete bowl of pho. So you see, many people would like to add their bean sprout like right into their soup. Many use on the sides. The special thing about pho is you cannot expect two bowls pho to be the same into separate kitchen. It depends on the customer taste. Many people would like to add chopped Thai basil, lime wedge with some chili pepper slice. But for me, I would recommend you add a spoonful of hoisin sauce and sriracha to the bowl to create more flavor. So despite pho is traditional and national dish of Vietnam, no one really know what exactly about pho history. A restaurateur and author Mai Pham research on pho as cited in Vietnamese culinary expert and Nguyen blogs state that there is nothing written about the early history of pho. The only source left are oral tradition handed down by the elders. However, many experts in Vietnamese cuisine, including Ms. Pham and Ms. Nguyen, states that history of pho began in Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. That is, they started around the time when the French colonized the country in late 1880s. In the Spikeline interview on Ms. Nguyen, she says that before the French conquered Vietnam, the Vietnamese people did not slaughter cow for food. Instead, they used these animals to till their rice field and as okay. I'm sorry. So theory by most Vietnamese culinary experts believe that the word pho is a corruption of the French field. In English is fire. Pho could be a Vietnamese adaptation of French soup powerful or French beef stew in English, which French brought to Vietnam when they came to rule the country. Let me give you some sideline fact the Vietnamese people love to take foreign words and use as their own, but with a Vietnamese accent like and in case feel in French become phở. In Vietnam, back to the history of phở. So power fill or pot on fire is a dish also requires simmering beef bone on low heat for long hours, just like phở. Another similarity that power fill and share with phở is the fact that ginger and onion also roast in an open flame before they add it to flavor the broth. Vegetables like carrots and turnips are used to top power fill, which in phở these vegetables are replaced by bean sprout and herbs with a little lime juice added for taste. So there are two versions of phở in Vietnam, the phở of the north and phở of the south. Many Vietnamese cuisine experts consider northern phở is the true phở because this is the birthplace of phở in northern Vietnam near Hanoi. But the debates still go on. The focus of northern phở is on the taste of its clear and simple broth. The star anise and other spices commonly used in phở serve as subtle undertones of flavor rather than the complex layer and intense flavor of southern phở. Northern phở use a wider rice noodle topping with a simple minced red beef and green onions. Different than northern phở, phở of the south is used thin rice noodles with intense flavor beef broth. Southern phở utilize many parts of beef such as like red beef, bone marrow, tendon, fatty flanks, briskets, and meatball, which give the customer more choice add to their phở. Funny fact is, even if you don't know which to choose, which topping to choose, you could choose all of them. They call it phở đặc biệt, or in English is special phở. Well, I hope this information could help you know more about phở as well as Vietnam. If you happen to make it Vietnam, give me a call. I'll show you around to take you to the best phở place. So, thank you.
All right, River, what do you think?
I think his presentation was really good. I think he did a great job explaining the history and what pho is. You know, I don't really know much about it, but you know, now thanks to him I do, and I'm kind of hungry. So, but I think you did a good job explaining the slides that you had. I think you could have included a few more, and I didn't hear too many source citations except for the one on history, but that was a pretty good citation. So. And I have to give you major props for coming into this class, you know, not knowing English very well, but I think you're pretty good at it. So it takes a lot of courage to do that, and you deserve major props. So good job.
All right, well, I like the personal background as your attention device. I thought that worked pretty well, although you do want to kind of make sure that you tell the story first instead of getting to the topic first. The language I thought in the intro was really good. You just need to deliver it a little bit more like you were talking to us instead of reading it, and I think it'll come across more effectively. I thought you had a pretty solid statement of what your goal was. There's a little bit of a preview. It could be more detailed, but I could tell that you had set up a structure for us, so that helps. I did hear the source citations when you were giving them. You were pretty consistent about that when you had them, at least giving us some information there. I do think you could probably use a little bit more information. Sometimes the descriptions of the dish that you're talking about they sound like they're coming from a gourmet magazine or something along those lines, and so if you are in fact using a description like that, you want to make sure that you cite it. If it's you that's simply talking about it, it seems a little strange that you have to read it instead of just telling us about those things. So you want to be careful about that. The historical material, like you kind of explained why there isn't that much clarity about what's going on, but I thought you did a nice job kind of explaining what people believe and how the word originated, and what the conditions were prior to the French control of the area, and how that might simply be a bastardization of the language. I appreciated that. The visual materials, I thought you were starting off pretty strong with lots of visuals to create interest. In the second half of the speech, there's not so much. I thought maybe when you talk about the difference between northern and southern versions of the dish, that maybe that would have been a good place to have a table chart that suggests what the differences are, what kind of spices they use, or what kind of ingredients are included. That might have maybe made it a little bit more meaningful, and it would have given you something in the later part of the speech that's also a visual reference. Like I said, it's a little inconsistent about the presentation. Sometimes you're reading, sometimes you're not reading, but you're not always looking at us, and you need to do better at that. You want to lose the hat while you're giving the speech. And I liked your exit line, although do we really have to go to Vietnam to be able to do this? You couldn't take us someplace in the area that you could pick out the best ones to go to? That might have been something that would have worked a little better for the audience here. All right, thank you.